Hi, this is Kevin P. Weaver. I'm a candidate for the Jefferson County Council, 6th District, which is the lower part of Jefferson County. What I want to talk about real quickly is the first plank of my platform, which is jobs. So everybody asks me, Kevin, what exactly do you mean by jobs? How are you going to create jobs? So what I want to try to do is explain in a nutshell what my plan is to try to bring jobs to the area. First of all, want to say that in my talks to the people in the public, when I ask them what it is that they want, and I'm trying to get a sense for the area and what I might be able to do as a councilman to, to make the community better. Wholeheartedly, one of the biggest responses that I have are jobs. What I mean by that is lack of jobs. In the DeSoto, Lower Festus, Lower Hillsborough area, southern Jefferson County, many of the people who live in this area are great people. They have great jobs. They have to drive tremendous amount of miles in order to get back and forth to their jobs each day. So as a businessman, one of the things I do is I work with businesses every day to try to make their businesses better. And I look at their platform, and I look fundamentally as an advisor, as a former investment advisor. I try to find out what their benefits and what their weaknesses are. So in deciding to run for this office, I pretty much did the same thing. So I looked down on a map and I try to figure out exactly what is it that we have in abundance of, or what are our biggest resources, or what kind of assets do we have in a community sense that we can use that to parlay that into into economic bonanza for us, to a stronghold. And so what I look at is that what we used to have jobs here 100 years ago, 150 years ago, when it was a mining area. Well, that time has pretty much come and gone. Not that there's not still minerals, but from an environmental standpoint, it's not as advantageous for us to go after that. However, if you look at our area on a map, what I mean is, if you look at the 6th District, if you look at southern Jefferson County on a map, you'll see that we still are strategically placed in a very good area. From a freight standpoint, well, from a national standpoint, St. Louis metropolitan area is strategically placed pretty much in the middle of the country. What that means is, in this country, while we may not manufacture goods like we used to, we are still consuming products like we used to. And the products are more or less being transferred back and forth via freight, via railroad, a little bit of air, but mostly through the trucks. If you look on the map, and you'll see St. Louis is strategically placed, around several large cities, about 300, somewhere between 250 to maybe 350 miles away. You have Memphis around 350 miles away. You have Chicago around 300 miles away. Kansas City about 250 miles away. You have Oklahoma City, which is a further distance out. You have Indianapolis, which is around 200 miles away. You have Little Rock, Arkansas, which is around 300 miles away. From a freight standpoint, from a trucking standpoint, an individual driver can drive a local route of a distance of around, maybe the maximum around 300 miles per day, and they can turn around and they can be back that same day. Okay, so you have areas like Chicago. If anyone knows anyone who drives a truck and they are what's called a local driver, over the road, or what they call a line haul, local driver, they'll drive to Chicago and back every night. They'll drive to Indianapolis and back every night. Some of them may drive to Louisville, but that's a further distance away. Nashville also, there's a number of cities that are hit. Did you know that the distance between, the St. Louis area and Little Rock being around 300, a little bit more than 350 miles, the most direct route between St. Louis and Little Rock is through Highway 67. Now, up until just a few years ago, before it was upgraded, Highway 67 was not the greatest road to travel on, although it was a shorter route. When you got down to around Poplar Bluff, Fredericktown, the highway was smaller, and travel was harder and harsher, less fuel stops or gas stations to refresh and everything. It made the route a little bit more difficult. So therefore, a lot of people elected, and they still do elect, to go through Highway 55 down to West Memphis, and then west on Highway 40. Now that Highway 67 itself is a much better road, although it is still a smaller road in Corning, Arkansas, up to the point where you get down to Newport, Arkansas, it's fast enough that freight, that means the trucks that are going from St. Louis to Little Rock, it's in the best interest of the trucking companies or the independent truck drivers to drive the most direct route, which is Highway 67. It would be better for the trucking companies in general if they were to have a hub or some kind of a waypoint somewhere in the southern part of Jefferson, in the St. Louis area, which is Jefferson County, that they could basically launch their routes out of in order to destine to Little Rock or points after that. What I propose first and foremost is to try to take advantage of our natural strategic position and to develop contacts with companies that are moving freight, first of all, between St. Louis and Little Rock. It's natural. And you say, well, there's just a limited amount of companies doing that. It may be, but the most direct route from Little Rock to Houston, Little Rock to Dallas, junction from St. Louis also goes through 67. So it's not just Little Rock, it's eastern Texas. And from eastern Texas, if you go further south, it's Laredo, Texas, San Antonio, or actually Laredo, Texas, going into San Antonio, Texas, going into Laredo. So you have a lot of freight coming out of Mexico, going into Mexico that goes through Laredo. So freight that is going in between those routes, you have millions of people potentially in between this route that, a lot of companies can move freight this way, that way, or this. So the ideal is to try to approach businesses that would fit into this category and to make the environment, the business community, proactive in the Jefferson County region to make it conducive for a company to try to move here. Now, that's to the south. To the north, St. Louis to Chicago, Chicago to Detroit, Detroit to Windsor, Ontario, so you have an access into Canada. So it's potential. We can create essentially a pipeline right now. Now, is that happening right now? Sure it is. But the routes that are being made now, as a person in the transportation business, generally are going through Highway 55 and then over on Highway 40. We can shorten the distance from companies that are making that freight move now by 93 miles each way. What that means is it's a shorter route, it's less time, it's less fuel, saves the company money. It makes sense for them to locate here in Jefferson County. So my ideal is to try to create a passageway, and with your help we'll be able to do so. So this is Kevin P. Weaver, candidate for Jefferson County 6th District, looking for your vote and your support. If you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook, or you can go to my website, kevinpweaver.com. Thank you. Have a great day.